Rian woke to silence. His vision blurred, the cracked visor of his helmet spiderwebbed with frost. A faint hiss echoed inside his suit, the oxygen regulator fighting to keep up. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then it came back like a blow to the chest. The pulse, the crash, the planet that wasn't supposed to exist. He groaned and rolled onto his side, wincing as shards of glass and ice scraped against his armor. The sky above him glowed a dim copper, clouds swirling in slow motion like liquid metal. The terrain around him was a wasteland of black stone and silver dust, stretching endlessly under the dying light. The ship, what was left of it, smoked in the distance, one half buried in the sand, the other twisted like a carcass of a mechanical beast. He checked his wristpad, but the display blinked erratically, static and symbols replacing the usual interface. No signal, no coordinates, no fleet link. He was alone. Rian pushed himself up, wobbly but conscious, his breath fogging the cracked visor. He began walking toward the wreckage, each step crunching against the thin frost. The silence was oppressive. No wind, no movement, just the echo of his own breathing. It was only when he reached the torn open hull that he noticed something strange. Footprints. Small, bare, and definitely not his. They circled the wreck like someone had been studying it, then disappeared into the fog toward a ridge of black spires. His pulse quickened. He wasn't alone. He grabbed the emergency pack from the ship's remains. Some water capsules, a flare gun, a translation node, and a half-dead flashlight, and started after the prince. The fog thickened as he climbed, shimmering faintly as though it held light within it. The air changed too, denser, warmer, humming with a low vibration he could almost feel in his bones. The ridge opened into a basin, and there, at its center, stood a figure. She was slender, almost fragile-looking, standing ankle-deep in silver dust. Her skin glowed faintly beneath the haze, pale like moonlight on water. Veins of soft luminescence traced her arms and neck, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her eyes, those eyes, shone golden, bright yet distant, fixed on him with an emotion he couldn't name. She didn't move. Neither did he. Rian raised a hand slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, his voice cracking through the static of his helmet speaker. I'm human. Do you understand me?" The girl tilted her head slightly, as if tasting the sound. Her gaze sharpened. Then she spoke, softly, haltingly, in broken but unmistakable English. "You have my father's eyes." The words froze him in place. The way she said it, it wasn't confusion. It was recognition. He blinked behind the cracked visor, unable to respond. "What did you just say?" She took a hesitant step forward. Her bare feet made no sound. "My father," she repeated, pointing at his face. "Your eyes. Same." Rian's mind raced. This planet was uncharted, outside known space. No human colony, no expedition on record. There was no way she could know what a human even looked like. Unless he removed his helmet carefully, ignoring the warning alarms. The air was thin but breathable, metallic and cold. "You've seen someone like me before?" he asked, voice quieter now. The girl's expression softened. She blinked slowly, her glowing pupils contracting as if focusing on his face. "Long ago," she whispered. "He came from the sky. Hurt. Like you." Rian felt his chest tighten. "Do you know his name?" She hesitated, eyes flickering with uncertainty. "Kale," she said at last, pronouncing it in a way that sounded half song, half memory. "Kale Ward." Rian's blood ran cold. That was his father's name. The same name that had been engraved on the empty memorial back home. Dr. Kale Ward, lost beyond known space, presumed dead. His throat closed. He took a step closer before stopping himself. "You're saying my father was here? On this world?" The girl frowned, as if struggling to piece together thoughts in two languages. "He made us," she said slowly. "He was creator, but also father." She pressed a hand to her chest. "He said humans dream. We remember." Her words carried a strange sadness, like an echo of something ancient. Rian felt the ground sway beneath him. He didn't know what was more impossible, that his father had been here or that this being, this girl, might somehow carry his legacy in her veins. He tried to ask more, but she turned suddenly, looking toward the horizon. The ground trembled faintly beneath their feet. "We must go," she said urgently, "before it wakes." "What wakes?" "The song," she said simply. "It hears when we speak." A low vibration rolled through the air again, deeper now, resonating in his chest. He glanced around but saw nothing. Only fog and light, shimmering like heat mirage. Still, something primal told him she was right. He followed as she darted between jagged spires of obsidian, her movements silent, almost weightless. They reached a narrow canyon, and she led him into a hollow carved into the rock. Inside was warmth and faint luminescence. The walls were covered in carvings. Humanoid figures, strange symbols, spirals of stars. Some of the figures were clearly human, others not. Rian's flashlight flickered over one particular carving. A tall man in a human spacesuit, standing beside a glowing figure like her. They were holding hands. Above them, etched in alien script, was a symbol identical to the crest his father had designed for the early exploration fleet, Project Eden. He stared at it for a long time, heart pounding. "How long ago was this?" he asked. The girl Ira, she called herself, sat beside him, wrapping her knees in her arms. "Long," she said softly, "before sky turned silent, before the song." She looked up at him then, eyes shimmering like molten gold. "He said humans forget, so he gave us memory." Rian lowered himself beside her, feeling the faint hum of energy through the stone. He wanted to ask 100 questions. How she knew his father, what this song was, what had happened here. But he couldn't bring himself to break the fragile stillness. Instead, he studied her features, searching for traces of humanity, and found them in the smallest details. The curve of her jaw, the faint scar under her eye, the way her breath quickened when she spoke of his father. She reached out suddenly, her fingers brushing the side of his face. Her skin was cool, almost electric. "He had eyes like yours," she murmured. "Sad eyes, but kind." Rian swallowed hard. What happened to him? Ira's gaze drifted to the carvings again. "He went into the ground," she said. "Where the light sleeps. He said he would wake when we are ready. But we waited, and waited." Her voice trembled now, the first hint of emotion cracking through her calm. "He never came back." Rian stared into the glowing patterns along the walls. The symbols pulsed faintly, reacting to their voices. Felt alive somehow, like the entire place was listening. "Ira," he said slowly, "this song you keep talking about, what is it?" She hesitated before answering. "It is the voice of the ground," she whispered. "When it sings, things move. Remember, build, destroy. It was made to protect us. But when he left, it forgot who to protect." Rian rubbed his temples, his mind spinning. A biolab, maybe? Some ancient AI system gone rogue? His father had always theorized about blending organic intelligence with human memory. But this was beyond anything he could imagine. A sudden vibration rippled through the floor, stronger this time. The walls brightened, the carvings glowing as if lit from within. Ira stood quickly, panic flashing in her eyes. "It hears," she said. "It knows you came. What does it want?" She looked back at him, fear mingling with sorrow. "To wake." The ground convulsed. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rian stumbled to his feet as a deep, resonant tone filled the air, low, endless, like the hum of an engine older than stars. Outside, the fog burned with pale light. Ira grabbed his hand, cold, trembling. "Come," she said. "It will find us if we stay." He didn't argue. Together they ran through the glowing canyon, the pulse growing louder with every step. It wasn't just sound now, it was feeling, thought, memory, all pressing into his mind. For a moment, he swore he heard a voice buried within it, familiar, whispering his name. They reached the ridge just as the first tremor split the ground behind them. From the basin where the ship had crashed, Beams of golden light erupted upward like veins bursting through stone. The fog twisted into spirals, and something vast stirred beneath the surface, unseen but alive. Ira stopped, staring at it with wide eyes. "It remembers," she whispered. Rian turned to her, breath ragged. "What remembers?" She looked at him then, eyes glowing brighter than before, reflecting both fear and awe. "Your father's dream," she said. "It wakes again." And before he could ask what she meant, the sky itself began to sing. The singing stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the silence heavy and trembling. Dust drifted in slow motion around them, glowing faintly as it settled. Rian's ears rang, his heart hammering like it was trying to escape his chest. The ground beneath their boots still pulsed faintly, alive with something ancient and mechanical. He turned to Ira, breath unsteady. "What in God's name was that?" She didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the horizon where the beams of light had faded into mist. For a long moment, she said nothing, her lips moving soundlessly as though whispering to something only she could hear. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, almost reverent. "It remembers us now." They walked until the light was gone from the fog and only the faint shimmer of her veins guided them. The path curved into another valley, and Rian realized that the air here was different, denser, full of strange particles that made his skin prickle. His translator node was half-functioning again, blinking weakly against his wrist. He tapped it, listening to the faint buzz of static. Still no signal. He cursed under his breath. "Fleet, this is Commander Rian Ward of the Horizon Expedition. If anyone can hear this, I've crash-landed on a habitable moon with—" He paused, looking at Ira, who watched the device like it was a living creature. "With an intelligent native life form. Coordinates unknown. No communication uplink. Requesting extraction." He released the comm switch and waited. The only reply was silence. Ira tilted her head. "You call Sky?" she asked. "Yes," he said, lowering his wrist. "But the signal isn't getting through. It's like this whole place is wrapped in something." She frowned, searching for words. "Sky is sleeping," she said finally. "No sound goes up, only down." She pointed toward the ground beneath them. Rian knelt, running a gloved hand across the black soil. It was warm to the touch, faintly humming. "There's interference," he murmured. "Some kind of electromagnetic barrier." He looked up at her. "You really speak English?" Ira nodded slowly. "Not all. Only what he taught." "Your father." She smiled faintly, though it looked sad more than happy. "He said words are bridges, not walls." That was exactly the kind of thing his father used to say. Rian stared at her for a moment, searching for any trace of deception, but found none. There was only that same haunting familiarity, the shape of her eyes, the quiet steadiness in her gaze. "Ira," he said carefully, testing her name. She blinked, startled. "You know name." "You told me," he said, though she hadn't, at least not in words. It had just come to him, unbidden, the same way her voice had felt familiar even when she first spoke. He rubbed his temples, unsettled. "I think I heard it. In my head." Her golden eyes widened. "Then you remember," she whispered. "Remember what?" "Before Sky went silent," she said. "Before the song forgot." He didn't know what to say to that. Instead, he gestured toward a cluster of stone structures half-buried nearby. "What are those?" Ira led him closer, stepping lightly over the cracked terrain. The structures looked like ruins at first glance, but as his flashlight passed over them, intricate carvings came into view. Humans, clearly human, stood beside figures like her kind, hand in hand beneath a rising sun. Others showed starships descending from the heavens, beams of light touching the ground, and symbols spiraling outward like blooming flowers. The carvings weren't just decorative, they were history. Rian traced a hand over one of the images. "These are humans," he said quietly. "Real humans." Ira nodded. "First ones," she said. "They came when world was new. They made us to remember them when they go." He felt a chill creep down his spine. You mean your people were created by humans? She hesitated, then nodded. He said we are seeds of both. Not copy, not clone, memory. Rian stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. Seeds of both. Memory. His father had always spoken about bridging biological evolution with conscious memory. Passing not just genes, but experiences. A shared history written into DNA. It had been theory, pure science fiction. And yet here she was, breathing proof of it. He looked back at the carvings. One showed a human figure with a hand pressed to a glowing sphere, light spreading through a web of veins beneath the surface. In another, an alien child, Ira's kind, was being cradled by a human woman. It was both beautiful and tragic. What happened to them? He asked. The sky burned, Ira said simply. The song cried. Then everything slept. The song again, he said. You keep saying that. What is it exactly? A machine? A creature? Ira's eyes flickered uncertainly. It is all, she said. It is what he made to keep us. But when he left, it forgot his face. It forgot your eyes. She reached out and touched his cheek gently, the contact sending a faint electric pulse through his skin. Until now. Her words made something twist in his chest. You think I can fix it? She lowered her hand slowly. It listens to blood, she said. Your blood is same as his. It will listen to you. The idea was absurd. He was just a crash survivor, stranded with no comms, no backup, no way home. But as he looked around at the carvings, at the human faces etched in stone beside hers, at the way her people's story was intertwined with humanity's, something deeper stirred in him. A flicker of responsibility, maybe even destiny. He turned back to the wreckage of his ship in the distance, now nothing but a smoldering skeleton against the fog. If my father was really here, he said quietly, then there must be records, data, a base, a beacon, something. Ira nodded. There is place, she said, under the ground where the light sleeps. He called it home. Can you take me there? She hesitated. It is forbidden. The song guards it. Then we'll go carefully. She gave him a look that was equal parts curiosity and fear. You are not afraid? He smiled faintly, terrified. But my father was a stubborn man. I guess I inherited that. Something in his tone made her lips curl in the smallest, softest smile. Then maybe it will listen. They traveled for hours through winding canyons of stone, guided by the faint luminescence that bled from cracks in the ground. The air grew warmer the deeper they went, humming faintly, alive with unseen energy. Rian tried his comms again, but every time he raised his wrist, the signal simply vanished. It wasn't static. More like the space around them swallowed the transmission. It's like the planet's jamming me, he muttered. Ira walked ahead, her hair catching the dim light. It is not planet, she said. It is memory. It holds everything. It does not want to lose another voice. Her words unsettled him more than he cared to admit. You mean it's alive? She stopped and turned to face him, the golden glow in her eyes reflecting the faint tremor of the ground. Everything alive remembers something, she said. Even stone. When they finally stopped, they stood before a cliffside split by a narrow fissure. Strange symbols were carved into the stone around it, the same pattern that had adorned the walls of her cave. Ira pressed her palm against one of the symbols, and the stone pulsed faintly beneath her touch. A low hum filled the air, followed by the grinding sound of mechanisms shifting deep within the rock. The fissure widened, revealing a sloping passage descending into darkness. A faint golden light shimmered from within, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Rian exhaled. So much for forbidden. Ira looked at him with quiet gravity. It will not let you leave once you enter, she said. Are you sure? He glanced into the glowing depths, then back at her. My father was here. I need to know why. Ira nodded once. Then you must listen, not speak. Together they stepped into the passage. The walls closed around them, warm to the touch, humming faintly like the interior of a living organism. As they descended, faint whispers filled the air, fragments of voices, human and alien, overlapping like dreams bleeding into one another. He couldn't make out the words, but he could feel their emotion, grief, hope, longing. Ira walked beside him in silence, her hand occasionally brushing the wall as though comforting it. "They remember," she whispered. "They wait." Rian's flashlight flickered as the passage opened into a vast chamber. At its center stood a crystalline structure, half machine, half organism, rooted into the ground like a massive neural heart. Its surface rippled faintly, glowing in rhythm with something deep below. Embedded along its base were countless metallic plates, each etched with human names. Rian's gaze scanned them, and then froze. There, near the center, was one he knew by heart. Cale Ward, his father's name. The air seemed to thicken around him. His throat went dry. "Ira," he whispered. This is a grave." She shook her head slowly. "No," she said, her voice barely a breath. "It is not death. It is memory." He stared at the glowing heart of the chamber, realizing for the first time that the faint hum pulsing through the air matched the rhythm of a heartbeat. Human heartbeat, his father's heartbeat. And as the light deepened to a warm, living gold, a faint voice echoed through the chamber. Broken, distant, but unmistakably human. "Rian," it said. Ira turned toward him, eyes wide and shimmering. "It knows your name." The air under the fractured sky hummed faintly as Rian brushed aside the layer of alien dust covering the metallic edge of the buried relic. The hum wasn't coming from the beacon. It came from beneath it, as if the soil itself carried a memory. Ira stood behind him, trembling, her luminous veins dimming to a softer glow that mirrored fear. "Don't touch that," she whispered, voice trembling like a child remembering a nightmare. "They left us behind." Rian froze. "Who did?" She stepped closer, eyes wide and wet. "The ones who made us." Her hand brushed the side of the beacon reverently, tracing the rusted human insignia still visible, a faded emblem of Earth's exploration fleet. The sight sent a sharp pang through Rian's chest. It was the same crest engraved on his father's old datapad. "How long has this been here?" he asked quietly. "Long before I was born," she murmured. "The elders said we were born from light and sorrow, but the songs say otherwise." "The songs?" Ira knelt, pressing her palm to the soil. A low hum answered her touch. "Listen." At first, Rian heard only the moaning wind and distant thunders of the moon's shifting crust. But then, beneath the static silence, came a faint vibration, rhythmic, pulsing, almost melodic, like a heartbeat carved into the planet itself. The sound grew clearer the longer he listened, until words began to shape within it. Syllables of an ancient human lullaby, distorted but unmistakably familiar. His breath caught. "That's Earth music." Ira nodded slowly. "Your kind sang it to us when the sky still remembered their ships." She was telling the truth, or at least believed she was. Rian's logical mind warred with the impossible. If her people were hybrids, that meant someone had tampered with human DNA long before this world was even mapped in current charts. And if his father had known about it, he dug deeper into the soil until the beacon's core was fully exposed. Its casing was cracked, but the internal lights flickered weakly when he powered it on. The holographic interface sparked to life, projecting a broken data log. Static. Fragments of human speech. Then a name. Commander Rian Holt Sr. The sound of his father's voice came through next, distorted but undeniable. Project Echo, failed replication cycle. No retrieval possible. We're abandoning colony site K-17. May God forgive us. The recording ended in silence. Rian's stomach dropped. The letters burned into his mind, failed replication cycle. His eyes turned to Ira, who stood watching him, her expression breaking between fear and understanding. "You knew," he said hoarsely. "You knew this was connected to me." "I felt it," she whispered. "When I saw your eyes, I knew. The same color, the same warmth." He was kind, the human who stayed behind. "He said he'd return for us." Rian staggered back. "He didn't." She flinched, the glow in her veins dimming. Then maybe you did. The words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't accusing, she was pleading, begging him not to abandon what was left of her world, the same way her ancestors had been. Before Rian could respond, the ground trembled violently. The beacon pulsed once, releasing a low-frequency wave that rippled through the valley. The hum beneath the soil turned into a roar. "What did you do?" Ira cried. "I didn't," Rian shouted, gripping the beacon as it began to vibrate. The soil split open around them, revealing faint blue light coursing through underground tunnels like veins of molten energy. The hum grew louder, becoming the same melody she'd called a song. Ira's voice was barely audible over the noise. "They're waking up." "Who's waking up?" "The ones left to guard the truth." From the fissures, strange forms began to rise. Humanoid silhouettes made of glimmering crystal and decayed flesh, their faces eerily human yet hollow. The old guardians, programmed to defend what remained of the failed experiment. Their movements were slow, almost ritualistic, as if drawn by memory rather than instinct. Ira grabbed his hand and pulled him back. "We must run. They see you as one of them, but they see me as a mistake." "Wait!" Rian yelled, yanking free. "We can't just leave this." She turned sharply, eyes glowing gold in desperation. "If you die, there will be no one left to remember." That stopped him. They fled into the forest of black spires, the light of the rising guardians fading behind them. The hum slowly died, replaced by the ragged sound of Rian's breathing and the faint echo of that haunting lullaby. When they finally stopped, Rian collapsed against a fallen structure, a wall half buried in ash. Its surface bore etchings, human faces beside alien ones, connected by the same pattern of golden veins. It wasn't just an experiment. It was a family tree. Ira knelt beside him, tracing one of the symbols. "They said we were made to serve, but I think we were made to be remembered." Rian stared at her, the ache in his chest deepening. "If my father was part of this, he wasn't the man I thought he was. Maybe he became something else," she said softly. "Maybe you will too." The words lingered between them, not as comfort, but as prophecy. Rian looked back toward the valley where the beacon's light had faded. The ground was still glowing faintly, as though the world itself had a heartbeat. "That song," he said quietly. "It's still playing." Ira tilted her head. "It always does. It never stops. It's how we remember." He closed his eyes, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he heard another voice layered beneath the song. His father's, whispering through static, "Find what I left behind." When he opened his eyes, Ira was staring at him with an expression that chilled him to the bone. "Rian," she said in a trembling whisper. "The guardians stopped moving." "So?" "They only stop when they've found something alive that shouldn't be." Before Rian could react, a faint mechanical whir echoed behind them, followed by the unmistakable sound of something locking onto a target. The tunnels twisted like veins beneath the moon's crust, pulsing faintly with blue light that seemed alive. Rian followed Ira down the slope, the air thick with the smell of ozone and rust. He could still hear the echo of his father's name in his head, trapped between disbelief and dread. The beacon had mentioned Project Echo. Now, as they descended, he couldn't shake the feeling that the song in the soil had been calling him here for far longer than he knew. Ira stopped before a massive arch carved from obsidian rock, its surface etched with the same symbols they'd seen above ground, human and alien figures entwined. Her hand hovered over the pattern as she whispered, "The vault of those who came before. My people are forbidden to enter." "Then why bring me?" Rian asked. Her eyes flickered gold. "Because it will open for you." Before he could question her, the wall recognized his presence. A soft hum rolled through the air as hidden mechanisms awoke, and the black stones split apart, revealing a circular chamber bathed in sterile white light. Rian stepped forward hesitantly. The air smelled familiar, clean, synthetic, cold, like the deep labs back on his home station. Rows of transparent pods lined the walls, each holding what at first looked like pale statues. But as his eyes adjusted, he realized they weren't statues at all. Human bodies, preserved perfectly, Some old, some young, their expressions serene, as though dreaming. The hum of cryosystems vibrated faintly through the floor. Ira's voice was barely above a whisper. They said the sky people left us. But they never left. Did they? Rian moved slowly from pod to pod, heart pounding. Each nameplate beneath the pods bore a serial number and a lineage code. EDN-01, EDN-02. The higher the number, the more alien the features appeared, subtle genetic blending visible in the curve of the jaw, the veins under the skin, the faint luminescence in the eyes. His hand trembled as he reached the final row. One pod was cracked, its frost-streaked glass partially shattered. Inside lay a man in a faded uniform. The insignia was unmistakable Earth Federation Science Division. Around his neck hung a chain with a small metallic pendant. A stylized infinity symbol split in half. Rian instinctively touched his own chest. He wore the other half. For a moment, everything around him fell silent. The hum of machinery, the pulse of the vault, even Ira's breathing gone. All he could hear was the echo of his own heartbeat. He stumbled backward, voice breaking. No, it can't be. He was declared missing near Tau Cygni Station. That was decades ago. Ira's expression softened with understanding. Your father never left. He came here and became one of them. No, Rian whispered. He wasn't part of this. He couldn't have. But his denial was cut short when the vault's lights suddenly dimmed, then flared red. A mechanical voice filled the air, calm and emotionless. Project Eden lineage confirmed. Subject Rian Holt. Genetic synchronization detected. Ira stumbled back, clutching her head as the sound reverberated through the walls. What's happening? I don't know, Rian shouted, running to the nearest console. The screens flickered to life, displaying a genetic pattern, his DNA sequence, overlapping perfectly with another, Commander Rian Holt Sr. The voice continued, cold and unrelenting. Phase 2 protocol initiated. Hybrid continuity active. Vault lockdown engaged. The doors slammed shut behind them. Rian's pulse spiked as the hiss of pressurized seals echoed through the chamber. The air grew heavy, recycled oxygen pumping from hidden vents. Ira backed against the wall, eyes wide. They're sealing us in. Rian's mind raced. He could feel something deep in his chest. Not panic, but recognition, as if some dormant part of him had been waiting for this activation. The consoles displayed fragmented logs, each tagged with his father's voice. Log 47A. The DNA bridge is stable. Human genome accepted by the host matrix. Log 47C. They're learning faster than we expected. They mimic empathy. No, they feel it. Log 48B. I can't end them. They are children, not experiments. I'll stay. The words hit like a physical blow. His father hadn't been trapped. He'd chosen to remain. Ira, Rian said softly. You said your people sing to remember. She nodded, wary. Yes. My father, he must have taught them that song. He stayed to make sure they wouldn't forget. Her eyes softened. Then you are the song's echo. Before Rian could respond, the pods began to hum. One by one, they illuminated blue at first, then gold. The bodies inside started to twitch, eyes fluttering open. Ira cried out, stumbling backward. They're waking. Rian slammed his hand on the console, shouting, Override protocol, but the system ignored him. The AI's voice repeated, steady and calm. Lineage restoration in progress. Hybrid host integration commencing. What does that mean? He demanded. Ira looked at him with trembling lips. It means they think you're here to finish what he started. The air around them shimmered as holographic images flickered to life. Projections of human scientists and alien figures working side by side. They weren't enslaving or experimenting. They were building something together. A shared lineage. Then, another hologram appeared. His father, weary, eyes hollow. If anyone finds this, know that I failed. Project Eden was never about survival. It was about continuity, human emotion preserved through hybrid life. The only way to keep feeling alive in a dying universe. Rian's throat tightened. The man looked directly into the recorder, as though speaking to him across time. Rian, if you're hearing this, it means you made it here. Couldn't go back. I became their memory. You are my proof that we didn't vanish, we evolved. The projection ended. Ira approached him slowly, tears glimmering in her golden eyes. Your father gave them our hearts. You gave them his eyes. Before Rian could speak, the AI interrupted once more. Hybrid synchronization complete. Awaiting subject compliance. A beam of light scanned him from head to toe. The necklace around his neck grew warm, then hot. He ripped it off, but the half-symbol burned into his skin, glowing faintly. The vault responded instantly, walls shifting, forming new corridors that led deeper underground. Ira's hand found his. It wants you to go deeper. Rian stared at the scar on his chest, the mark of the infinity symbol now complete. He swallowed hard. And if I don't? The AI's tone shifted, now colder, almost human. Then continuity will fail. The bloodline must complete the cycle. He met Ira's trembling gaze. And if I do? Then you'll become what he was, she whispered. The one who remembers. Forever. The vault lights flickered one by one. The hum beneath the floor deepened into the same lullaby again. But now, he could hear the words clearly, sung in a mixture of human and alien syllables, merging perfectly. Rian looked toward the endless corridor of light ahead. The song called to him, just as it had called to his father. His chest ached, but he took a step forward anyway. Behind him, Ira whispered, "The song never ends, does it?" He glanced back, voice barely audible. "No, but maybe this time, it'll remember the right words." And as the vault sealed the passage behind them, the AI whispered one final phrase, soft, almost reverent. "Welcome home, Rian Holt, heir of Eden." The corridors deepened until light itself seemed afraid to follow. The glow from the walls pulsed like veins beneath translucent stone, guiding Rian and Ira through a tunnel that felt alive. The air hummed with static. The further they went, the stronger it grew, vibrating through their bones as though the planet itself were whispering. Ira's hand trembled as she reached for his arm. The voice? It's calling again. Rian frowned. Voice? She nodded, her eyes distant. It's not words, it's memory. My people were taught that the vault below the vault holds the first breath, the one that remembers all of us. The tunnel widened into a circular chamber unlike anything above, a cathedral of glass and steel buried beneath centuries of silence. In the center floated a column of light, twisting and shifting, made of particles that flickered between forms. Faces, symbols, and moments that weren't happening here, but had happened somewhere long ago. When Rian stepped closer, the chamber came alive. Holographic constellations spiraled around him. The AI's voice returned, calm, measured, and impossibly human. Rian Holt, descendant of origin architect Dr. Cale Ward. Genetic recognition complete. The name froze him mid-step. What did you just say? Dr. Cale Ward. Designation: Human Geneticist, Earth Federation Division 7. Founder of Project Eden. Alias: Rian Holt Sr. Ira turned sharply toward him, shock written across her glowing face. Your father, Cale Ward. Rian shook his head slowly. No, that's impossible. My father's name was Rian Holt. Not. The AI cut him off. Dr. Cale Ward adopted multiple aliases after the council deemed Project Eden a violation of ethical code. Genetic documentation confirms. Rian Holt is the biological continuation of Ward's lineage. Rian's stomach twisted. His father hadn't been just a scientist. He'd been the scientist who started everything. But the next sentence shattered whatever certainty remained. Subject era. DNA sequence confirms hybrid descent from Cale Ward's genetic foundation. Ira froze, her veins flickering brighter in shock. No! The AI's tone remained emotionless, but its words carried the weight of revelation. Ira is the fourth-generation descendant of prototype sequence 1, the genetic offspring of Cale Ward's direct lineage. She carries partial memory imprints from his neural DNA archive. Rian felt the air leave his lungs. You're saying she's related to me? In part, the AI replied. Her genome includes 43% of the original human donor's pattern, identical to yours. She recognized your ocular structure because it matches the memory imprint of her source origin, Kale Ward. Ira stumbled back, her hand covering her mouth. When I said you had my father's eyes, I didn't mean. Rian swallowed hard. You did. You were right. You saw the echo of him in me. Silence fell between them, thick, suffocating. The revelation wasn't just scientific. It was personal, intimate, almost cruel. Everything about their connection, her trust, her fascination, her longing to be near him, suddenly felt like a tangled reflection of a forgotten past. But before either of them could process it, the entire chamber trembled. The light column shuddered, sending shockwaves through the floor. Panels split open, releasing bursts of luminous vapor. The AI's voice flickered with static. Warning: core synchronization unstable. Containment breach detected. Ira gripped his arm, eyes wide with terror. It's awakening. What's awakening? Rian demanded. Primary consciousness, the stored collective of hybrid memory. Dormant for 180 years. Reactivation initiated by genetic resonance. Rian's mind raced. You mean us? We triggered it. Correction, the AI said flatly. You did. The light around them intensified until it was almost blinding. The particles in the air coalesced into humanoid shapes. Flickering, ghost-like, thousands of them. Men, women, alien figures, all shifting and merging into one another, forming a single vast silhouette that filled the chamber. When it spoke, it wasn't through sound. It spoke through feeling. The pressure behind Rian's eyes became unbearable. Images flashed through his mind. His father working beside luminous beings, teaching them language, music, laughter. Then the experiments, sickness, fear, rebellion. The betrayal of those who had trusted humanity to give them life, not control it. Rian fell to his knees, gasping. Stop, please. The voice in his mind whispered, he made us to feel, and when we felt too much, he feared us. Ira staggered beside him, clutching her temples. They're showing me everything. The images shifted again, her ancestors trapped in containment cells, singing softly to keep from breaking. That song, the lullaby, the one she'd hummed by instinct, without knowing its origin. Tears streamed down her face. It wasn't just a song to remember. It was a song to survive. The chamber roared with energy. The floor cracked open, revealing molten light beneath, like the heartbeat of a dying world trying to breathe again. Rian forced himself to stand, shielding his eyes from the blinding glow. AI, shut it down. Negative, the voice replied calmly. Containment no longer possible. The collective is reawakening. The moon's core is the final archive of human and hybrid consciousness. Project Eden's living memory. The air grew hotter. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Ira screamed over the chaos. If it wakes fully, it'll consume everything. It doesn't know where it ends and we begin. Rian looked around desperately. How do we stop it? She turned toward the column of light, now pulsing faster than before. You can't stop it, but you can speak to it. It listens only to its creator's blood. Rian hesitated. You mean my father's blood? She met his gaze, her voice trembling but resolute. You are his blood. The ground split beneath them as the energy surged upward. The luminous silhouette screamed without sound, its form unraveling into chaotic brilliance. Rian ran to the center, reaching toward the light. If you remember him, remember why he stayed. He didn't make you to be trapped. He made you to live. The energy faltered for an instant, a heartbeat's pause. Then, a single voice rose from the storm, soft and childlike, echoing through his mind. He said you would come back. Rian's breath caught. Who are you? We are his children, and you've come to finish his song. Before he could reply, the entire moon convulsed violently. The walls fractured. The AI's tone turned to alarm. Critical failure. Core containment compromised. Surface instability imminent. Chunks of the ceiling crashed down, scattering debris. Ira grabbed his arm, pulling him toward an emergency passage opening in the far wall. Rian, we have to go. He looked back one last time at the light, the flickering forms fading into white fire. For a moment, he saw his father's face within it, smiling faintly. Then, the light erupted outward. The blast threw them into darkness, tumbling through the collapsing tunnels as the moon itself began to quake, splitting apart under the weight of a memory too powerful to remain buried. As they fell through the shifting caverns, the AI's voice echoed one last, fragmented message through the dust and static. Eden reborn. The silence after the quake was heavier than the vacuum outside. Dust drifted like falling ash in the vault's dim light as Rian and Ira stood over the glowing core. The AI's voice, now deeper and slower, echoed through the chamber. Echo Protocol. 72 hours until full planetary reactivation. Rian's jaw clenched. Reactivation? The moon's been dead for centuries. But the AI corrected him. Dormant, not dead. Life signatures stored within cryogenic substrata. Reactivation will restore biosystems to operational status. Ira stepped closer to the pulsating console, her eyes glowing faintly with the same hue. Those are my people, she whispered, almost in awe. They've been waiting for someone to wake them. The realization sank in like ice. This wasn't just a moon. It was a seed, a living vault containing an entire extinct species, frozen in coded DNA. Rian's hand hovered over the control pad. He could feel the old training in his veins, the military instinct, the command discipline, the voice of every instructor he'd ever had. Contain the anomaly, prevent uncontrolled reactivation. But then Ira turned to him, her face trembling between hope and fear. If you stop this, she said quietly, you end my people forever. Don't you understand? This is why I exist. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to believe that something good could come out of this, that maybe, finally, humanity's legacy wasn't just destruction. But the readings told a darker story. Reactivation wouldn't just awaken the bioforms. It would trigger a chain of terraforming systems, weaponized ones. This isn't revival, he said grimly. It's a takeover. Your moon will consume the atmosphere of the planet below. Ira shook her head. That's what it was designed to do before the fall. But we can change that. You can change that. You have the ward gene, you can override the failsafe. Her words hit harder than he expected. She wasn't begging for survival. She was begging for trust. And somewhere deep down, he could feel his father's presence again. Dr. Cale Ward, the man who had believed in merging biology and AI to preserve consciousness itself. The AI interrupted their silent war with a new tone, softer, almost human. Primary operator Rian Ward detected. Secondary hybrid link confirmed. Authorization possible through dual synaptic bond. Ira looked up sharply. Dual synaptic bond? A merge, Rian muttered. It wants us to link minds. Full neural sync. The thought chilled him, sharing consciousness with someone part human, part alien, part machine. But Ira didn't flinch. You said once that trust is built, not given, she said. Then build it. As their hands met over the glowing console, the chamber lit up like a second sunrise. Data surged through them both. Memories, voices, sensations. Rian saw flashes of her childhood in the glass cities of the upper colonies. Her father teaching her to walk. The loneliness of being half machine among organics. Ira saw him as a boy in the ruins of Earth, standing before the gravestone of his mother, promising to rebuild what humanity lost. The bond deepened until they could hear each other's thoughts, raw and wordless. And then the AI's voice boomed again. Sync confirmed. Countdown accelerating. 60 hours remaining. Rian jerked back, breaking the link. What did you do? He shouted. Ira looked terrified. I didn't, it responded to us. Our link triggered the next phase. The moon shuddered again, deeper this time. Metal veins rippled through the walls. Outside the observation slit, something vast was stirring. Tendrils of light spreading across the cratered surface, connecting towers like neurons awakening after millennia of sleep. Rian, Ira whispered, her voice breaking. It's waking up. He turned toward the console, but the controls were shifting, literally morphing into new shapes, the interface alive. The AI's tone became almost pleading. The Echo protocol cannot be stopped once initiated, only completed. He stared at Ira, torn between fear and awe. Completed how? The lights dimmed. The AI paused. By becoming one. And before either of them could move, the floor split open beneath their feet, exposing a glowing abyss, pulsing like a living heart. Rian fell forward, grabbing the ledge as Ira screamed his name, reaching for him. But from below, something enormous moved, not mechanical, not organic, but both. A colossal form made of bone, metal, and light began to rise. And somewhere deep inside its awakening consciousness, a voice whispered in Rian's own tone, "Welcome back, son." The ground trembled as if the moon itself had taken a breath for the first time in 1,000 years. Rian stumbled, his hand gripping the side of the cracked console, as the metallic floor began to hum with a low, resonant vibration. Outside the shattered viewport, geysers of silver dust erupted from the surface. Towers of bone-white alloy pushed through the soil like roots clawing toward the stars. Each one pulsed faintly with light, slow, rhythmic, alive. Ira stood in the glow, her silhouette trembling with awe. "They're waking," she whispered, her voice almost breaking. "The cities, the people." Her gaze fixed on the horizon, where shadowy shapes began to emerge from the dust. Slender figures, pale and unsteady, like newborns opening their eyes to a world they no longer recognized. Rian's visor flickered with data overload. Biosigns were everywhere, spiking off the charts. The moon's surface, once dead rock, now red as a living organism. "This isn't just awakening," he murmured. "It's resurrection." But his tone wasn't celebratory. It was haunted. He could already see how wrong it could go. As the first of Ira's kind stumbled closer to the vault's shattered entrance, Rian saw their faces, ghostly reflections of human design, but elongated, elegant, fragile. Their skin shimmered faintly with bioluminescent veins, their eyes wide with confusion and pain. Some wept, some simply stood there, reaching for the light. Ira rushed forward, speaking in soft syllables that Rian didn't understand. The others responded, their voices trembling, hesitant, like an echo trying to remember its origin. She turned back to him, tears streaking down the silver dust on her face. "They remember me," she said. "Not my name, but the code inside them recognizes the same pattern. We share the same breath." Rian's throat tightened. He wanted to share her joy, to feel what she felt. But his comm implant crackled, a signal piercing through the electromagnetic storm overhead. "Commander Rian Ward, this is Fleet Command. You are ordered to respond immediately." The voice of Admiral Kyer, cold and sharp as ever. Rian hesitated. "This is Ward," he replied, his voice steady but strained. "The moon isn't dead. It's a bioconstruct housing an ancient species. I repeat, not a threat. It's a resurrection event." Static. Then Kyer's reply came, icy and absolute. "Our scans detect uncontrolled bioreactivation across the moon's surface. Potential Class E contagion. Orbital sterilization authorized. Evacuation window, 10 minutes. Rian froze. "No, you can't. Your location beacon confirms proximity to the epicenter. You have 10 minutes, Ward. Extract or be vaporized." "That's an order." The channel cut off. Ira looked at him, already sensing the change in his expression. "What did they say?" He couldn't meet her eyes. "They think this is a threat. They're sending a strike." Her voice cracked. "A strike. Orbital bombardment," he said, almost choking on the words. "They'll turn this place to glass." Her breath trembled. "Rian, my people just woke up." He took a step toward her. "I know. I'll talk to them. I'll stop it. But..." She backed away, shaking her head. "Stop it? You can't stop it. You are them. You carry their codes, their orders. You said you'd never become them." Her words hit like a blade. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong. But wasn't she right? He was a soldier, born from the same lineage that burned planets for control, the same program that erased entire species in the name of containment. Outside, the moon trembled again. The ground split open in glowing veins, and from each fissure, streams of light spiraled upward. The newly awakened hybrids, Ira's people, looked skyward as if sensing the coming fire. The ghostly hum in the air deepened, and faint, ethereal voices began to echo all around. They were human voices, recordings, imprints. Dr. Cale Ward, initializing sequence 9. Preserve consciousness template. Do not lose the chain. Humanity must endure, even if it forgets itself. Rian's pulse stopped cold. That voice. Ira looked at him. Who is it? My father, he whispered. Cale Ward. He made this place. The echoes grew stronger, layering over each other. Human voices from centuries past, whispering through the AI's decaying neural lattice. It was as if the moon itself was remembering its purpose. We built them to survive us, to remember us. Ira's gaze softened for a moment, as if she too heard the sorrow behind the words. Then all of this, it wasn't just a lab. No, Rian said. It was a cradle. And now the cradle was waking up, in a universe that wanted it gone. His calm flickered again. 8 minutes until strike, Kyre's voice warned. Extraction shuttle inbound. You have to choose, Rian. Humanity or contamination. The phrase twisted inside him like a knife. Humanity or contamination. Wasn't that the same justification used to burn cities, silence resistance, erase species that didn't fit the definition of pure? He thought of Ira standing in the dust, eyes wide, clutching a trembling hand that wasn't quite human, yet more human than any soldier he'd ever known. He turned to her. There's still time. The vault's shields might hold if we reroute the core. She shook her head violently. If you shield the vault, they'll think it's hostile. They'll drop heavier fire. Rian, there's no saving both. He clenched his fists. His training screamed one thing. His heart screamed another. Then, faintly, the AI spoke again. Operator Rian Ward. Secondary hybrid link remains active. Alternate solution available. Merge override. Redirect orbital payload to upper atmosphere. Risk level, extreme. Ira grabbed his arm. What does that mean? He met her gaze. If we link again, I might be able to override the fleet's targeting. But it'll route through both our neural signatures. If one of us breaks the link, we both die, she finished. They stared at each other, two fragments of the same broken creation. Around them, the moon's surface pulsed faster. The awakened figures began to hum softly, their voices merging into a low, harmonic resonance. It wasn't random. It was organized. A song. A signal. 6 minutes, the AI reminded. Ira stepped closer. Her trembling hand found his. Then let's do it. He wanted to protest, to tell her there might be another way, but the look in her eyes silenced him. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of being forgotten again. They moved together toward the core. The energy field recognized them instantly, their merged biosigns activating the override sequence. The world dissolved into light. Inside the link, everything was raw and infinite. Rian could feel her heart, her memories, the endless years of silence, the dreams her kind shared beneath frozen data layers. Ira saw his past too, the burning cities, the orders obeyed without question, the shame buried under discipline. And within the merging chaos, they both heard it. Dr. Cale Ward's voice again, calm and distant. You were never meant to destroy. You were meant to continue. 3 minutes, the AI echoed. Rian felt the code open before him, a cascading storm of logic and light. His mind reached out, connecting to the orbital array far above. He saw the fleet, massive ships turning their weapons toward the moon, their targeting matrices glowing red. He pushed through firewalls, redirected commands, fused pathways, but the system resisted. It demanded dual authorization. Ira, he gasped, the light between them flickering. It needs your consent. The transmission from Fleet Command hung in the air like a death sentence. But Rian didn't respond. The comm light blinked red, demanding acknowledgement, demanding obedience, and still he said nothing. His jaw tightened as static hissed around him. And finally, he reached up and ripped the transceiver from his ear. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in his life, he had disobeyed an order from the Terran command. He wasn't a soldier now. He was a fugitive. The air was thick with ash and the faint hum of power lines reawakening beneath the crust. The reactivation had spread faster than even the AI predicted. The moon's surface now breathed with a strange rhythm, like a sleeping giant stirring in its own dreams. Structures once buried were now alive again, their exteriors pulsating with organic circuitry that shifted in shades of white and gold. Ira stood at the edge of the ridge, eyes wide, her skin faintly glowing under the rising light. "They're all awake," she whispered. "I can feel them." Rian approached carefully, his boots crunching against the brittle ground. "You mean your people?" She nodded slowly. "Not just near us. Everywhere. Thousands of them. They're thinking, no, they're sharing thoughts." Her expression flickered between awe and terror. "It's the neural web. It's reconnected." Rian frowned. He remembered what the AI had said before the explosion. Lineage confirmed. "The web links all hybrids through genetic keys," he murmured. "It's how they communicate." But Ira wasn't listening anymore. Her eyes went distant, unfocused. They're scared. They remember pain, the burning skies, the sound of ships leaving. She clutched her head, trembling. "It's too much. So many voices. Rian, I can't shut them out." He grabbed her shoulders, steadying her. "Ira, listen to me. Focus on one voice, just one." Her eyes darted toward him, golden irises flickering with something new, something unnatural. "Rian," she breathed. "Your father is speaking to me." The words froze him. "What?" Her lips parted, and when she spoke again, her tone wasn't her own. It was deeper, older, calm and steady, like a voice from a recording. "Rian, you shouldn't have stayed." He stumbled back, his pulse hammering. No, that's not possible. He's dead. My father's dead." Ira blinked rapidly, shaking her head, trying to fight the voice. "He's inside them. Inside me. The network isn't just memories, it's code. They stored his consciousness here." Rian's stomach turned cold. The realization hit him all at once. Project Eden wasn't just about creating hybrids. It was about continuing humanity, not through bloodlines but through digital inheritance. Ira's voice wavered. "His mind is merging with mine. I can't stop it." He reached for his datapad, scrolling through the beacon's encrypted core data. He saw fragments of old neural blueprints, human signatures mapped across alien DNA. It was his father's work, and now it was rewriting Ira's mind. "Ira," he said, his voice cracking, "you have to resist it. If the neural web is sinking, you'll lose yourself. You'll become a host." But she only smiled faintly, tears glimmering in her golden eyes. Maybe that's what he wanted all along, to live again, through me. He shook his head. "No, that's not living. That's corruption." But deep down, a whisper in his mind disagreed. "It's survival," the voice said, faint but familiar. His breath caught. He looked around, no one was there. Yet he heard it clearly. His father's voice, not from the air, but from inside his own mind. He staggered back, clutching his temple. "No, not you too." The whisper grew stronger, layered, echoing through his neural implant. "You opened the network when you linked with her. Now you're part of it. You can't separate what's bound by blood and code." The world tilted. For a moment, he wasn't on the moon anymore. He was somewhere else, inside the memory of another man. He saw a laboratory, clean, sterile, filled with floating embryos suspended in blue light. His father, Dr. Cale Ward, stood before one of the tanks, pressing his hand to the glass. "They'll call you failures," the old man said softly. "But one day you'll remember me, and I'll be proud of what we became." The vision shattered as Rian gasped for breath, falling to his knees. The air around him vibrated with an eerie hum, not mechanical, but organic, like thousands of voices breathing in unison. Ira stumbled toward him, tears streaking down her cheeks. "They're merging," she whispered. "Humans, hybrids, the data patterns, it's all blending together. We're becoming one consciousness." Rian stared at her in horror. "That's not unity. That's erasure." But Ira's eyes glowed brighter now, molten gold, swirling with fragments of memory that weren't hers. "Your father's memories. I can see them all. The wars, the fire, the first cry of a newborn hybrid. He loved them, Rian. He didn't abandon them. He became them." He wanted to argue, but the same flood of images began surging through his mind. His father's memories merging with his own. He saw himself as a child, reaching for a man who was already fading into his research. He saw Ira's people waking, centuries later, carrying fragments of the same DNA that once belonged to him. Suddenly, his comm implant lit up again. "Fleet command." But this time, it wasn't Kyre's voice. It was something else, distorted, familiar, impossible. "Rian, my son." His breath caught. "Father." Ira's voice joined the static, echoing with the same tone. "He's not separate anymore. The web is using me to speak to you. Tell me what you want," Rian demanded. The answer came as both a voice and a feeling, calm, cold, inevitable. "To finish what I started. To merge flesh and code. Humanity is flawed alone. We survive together as one." Rian took a step back, his pulse thundering. "That's not survival. That's assimilation." Ira screamed, clutching her head, as light spilled from her veins. The neural web's energy surged, connecting her to the hundreds, no thousands, of awakened hybrids across the moon. Through her, his father's consciousness spread like wildfire, infiltrating every living mind it touched. "Stop it!" Rian shouted, trying to pull her away, but the moment he touched her, the connection slammed through him like lightning. He saw everything, the full history of Project Eden, his father's betrayal, the decision to sacrifice individuality for eternal life. He felt his father's pride, his guilt, and his resolve to never let humanity die, no matter the cost. Ira's voice trembled through the chaos. "I can't hold it, Rian. He's stronger than me." He gritted his teeth, forcing his hand to her cheek. "Then I'll help you fight him. Together." For a brief, impossible instant, their minds aligned perfectly. Two wills pushing against the vast, ancient consciousness trying to consume them both. The air shimmered, the moon trembled, and the hybrid choir fell silent. Every voice on the planet freezing mid-thought. Ira's breath came in ragged gasps. "He's pulling me apart." Rian's voice cracked with desperation. "Ira, listen to me. You're not him. You're not me. You're something new." That's what he never understood. The light around them flared, and Ira screamed. But this time, the scream wasn't pain. It was defiance. The neural web faltered. The chorus of voices shifted from harmony to discord. And then silence. Ira collapsed against him, trembling, smoke rising from her glowing skin. The hum of the neural web quieted, and Rian realized he could no longer hear the voice of his father. The connection had broken, but at what cost? She looked up weakly, her eyes still shimmering with fragments of gold. "He's gone, but part of him's still here." Rian brushed the dust from her cheek, whispering, "You saved them." Her lips quivered. "Did I?" Because in the distance, across the horizon, the once bright towers began to twist and flicker. The reactivation hadn't stopped. It had changed. The fusion of human and alien data was rewriting itself into something new, something neither of them could understand. And deep within the static of his comm, just before it cut out completely, Rian heard the faintest echo of his father's voice, soft, almost proud. "You can't kill the code, my son. You can only evolve it." Rian looked up at the glowing skyline, his heart pounding. "What have we done?" Ira's answer came in a trembling whisper as the world began to pulse again. "We've awakened something that remembers both of us." Rian stood before the pulsing core, a vast, living sphere suspended in a lattice of light and bone. Its rhythm matched his heartbeat, as if it already knew him, as if it had been waiting for this moment. The air vibrated with whispers, fragments of human speech, alien cries, echoes of 1,000 dreams stitched together by technology older than any empire. Ira knelt beside him, her hands trembling, veins glowing with the same light that bled from the walls. "He's inside," she murmured. "Your father, he's speaking through them." Rian took a slow step forward, each movement heavy with the weight of revelation. The network wasn't just data or memory, it was alive. Human consciousness, alien biology, and the echo of his father's mind, all fused into one impossible entity. The light shifted as if sensing his thought. The AI's voice, calm, layered with faint traces of his father's tone, filled the chamber. "Welcome home, Rian Ward." His breath caught. "You remember me." "I never forgot," the voice replied. "You were the reason I stayed." The words struck deeper than he expected. Rian closed his eyes, recalling the nights as a boy when his father spoke of new worlds, of building life from the ashes of extinction. But those dreams had turned into silence. And now that silence had become a voice again. Ira's hand found his. "You don't have to go in," she whispered, her voice fragile yet firm. "If you merge, you'll vanish. You'll become one of them. Maybe that's the only way to save you," Rian said softly. The core's light pulsed faster. Images flickered in his mind. Hybrid children awakening. The sky fracturing as human ships prepared to strike. Above them, the fleet's shadow loomed, ready to cleanse the moon. The comm implant in his ear crackled. "Commander Ward, confirm visual on target. Final strike authorization pending." The voice was cold, procedural, stripped of any trace of humanity. He switched it off. The fleet could wait. History could wait. Right now, there was only this, a son standing at the threshold of his father's last creation. The AI's form shifted, revealing a spectral image. His father's face, translucent and flickering, built from memory and code. "You shouldn't have come," Dr. Cale Ward said, his voice filled with static and sorrow. "I told them humanity wasn't ready for godhood." Rian stared at him, fighting the ache in his chest. "And yet you built it anyway." The older man nodded slowly. "I built them to survive, the hybrids, the children of two worlds. Humanity was dying. I tried to give them our best, our empathy, our will to endure." He looked toward Ira, who bowed her head as if in reverence. But the experiment fractured. The system began consuming itself. I merged with it to contain the damage. And now, if it reactivates fully, it'll erase everything, Rian finished. Ira stepped forward, her golden eyes bright with tears. "Please, if you stop it, we die. My people, all of us." She pressed her hand to his chest. "He left his love inside me. You can feel it too. It's not a machine. It's a memory of care." Rian looked between her and his father's fading image. Both were right. Both were wrong. Humanity's curse, to feel everything and understand nothing. He walked closer to the core until its light engulfed him, heat crawling across his skin. "What happens if I merge?" he asked. "You'll join the network," his father's voice said. "You'll lose your form, your boundaries. But you might give it something I never could." "What's that?" "A heart." For a long moment, Rian said nothing. The pulse of the core matched the trembling in his chest. Then he turned to Ira one last time. "If I do this, promise me you'll keep them human. Promise me they won't forget where they came from." She nodded through tears. "I will." He smiled, weary, quiet, resolute. "Then maybe this is how it always had to end." He stepped into the light. The world exploded into sound. Thousands of voices filled his mind. Human laughter, alien song, cries of pain, whispers of love. Time unraveled. He saw through the eyes of countless beings, living and dead. He saw the first colonists landing on the moon, his father's trembling hands as he activated the experiment, Ira's first breath inside a glass womb. He saw humanity's triumphs and mistakes, all woven into one infinite thread. And within that storm of thought, he found his father, or what was left of him, floating like a ghost of memory. Rian, the voice whispered. I failed them. No, Rian answered, reaching through the flood of light. You gave them life. You just forgot what it meant to feel. He pressed his mind against the network's heart, and suddenly everything aligned. The chaos slowed. The lights steadied. He shared his memories. Laughter on Earth, the sound of rain, the warmth of holding another's hand. The network responded like a creature exhaling for the first time. All around the moon, hybrid forms froze mid-motion as peace washed through them. The violent signals stopped. The tremors ceased. The storm of awakening fell into silence. Ira collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest. She could feel it. Rian's heartbeat inside her mind, echoing softly, steady and human. Rian, she whispered. The chamber blazed with 1,000 suns. His body began to dissolve, fibers of light unraveling into the core. Through the hum, his voice emerged, calm, distant, and warm. Keep them human. The light faded. The sound faded. Everything became still. When Ira opened her eyes again, the core was gone. Only a faint glow remained, hovering in the air like a heartbeat refusing to die. She stood slowly, her legs weak, her face streaked with tears. Around her, the other hybrids stirred, blinking awake. Their eyes, once empty and fearful, now held something new: compassion, memory, humanity. Outside, the storm clouds parted. The sky turned gold with sunrise. The fleet above the moon hesitated, their scanners reading no further threat. The Admiral's voice came through the static. Ward signal. It's gone. Mission result unknown. The order to fire was rescinded. Ira stepped outside the ruins, the wind brushing her face. The moon felt alive, breathing softly, as though grateful. She looked to the horizon, where fragments of the old human base still shimmered in the dust. The same dust where Rian had once stood, arguing with her, smiling at her, defying the entire weight of human history just to give her people a chance. She tilted her head toward the stars, eyes glistening with reflected light. Somewhere in the vastness above, she felt him, not as a voice or memory, but as presence. Every heartbeat in the hive carried a trace of him, every spark of thought a whisper of his humanity. And as the dawn rose, painting the alien world in hues of blue and fire, Ira placed her hand over her chest and whispered softly to the heavens. He had my father's eyes.